New factions for Gaslands, today on Attention Span Labs. Hello and welcome to Attention Span Labs. I'm your host, Michael DiBaggio, and today we're going to be talking about my wife's favorite war game. And in fact, one of my favorite war games as well, a very fun game called Gaslands. And of course, Gaslands and its sequel, Gaslands Refueled, which is more of an expansion than a sequel, is written by Mike Hutchinson, is available from Osprey Games, and it's been out for a while. I'm sure no one tuning into this video has only now just heard of Gaslands, and it's great because it is a very cheap war game to get into. It's a very fun one. It's miniature agnostic. It expects you to use Matchbox, Hot Wheels, Maisto, whatever, Majorette, whatever kind of little metal, approximately 1/64th scale die-cast cars you can get your hands on, and it expects you to repaint them, customize them. It's very open-ended, and that's one of the reasons I like it. I think the reason my wife likes it is because it is very, very zany, and it's the kind of game that, by the rules themselves, accentuates crazy things happening. It's called the Rule of Carnage, and basically it says that when in doubt, when applying the rules, just do whatever makes the most destruction, and that leads to a very fun war game. This is also a very accessible game for young kids. If you're going to introduce kids that are, say, 12 or younger, I would actually say I would start this game, because they almost certainly already have a large set of miniatures available for it. What I would that doesn't imply, by the way, that this is a game for kids. I mean, it's a game for everybody. I enjoy it a ton. I just turned 40. All my friends are pretty much older than me. We enjoy it too. So it does take some. If you wonder, it's very easy to customize the cars very quickly. You can just slap some paint on them, or glue some bits of plastic screw that spikes and stuff on, or you could use them as is. There's really no reason why you can't use a lot of the existing Matchbox and Hot Wheels cars. A lot of them have guns on them. They look really wild. They look pretty crazy. The main thing you're missing from the aesthetic is the post-apocalyptic, rusted, dirty, grimy look. So I'm going to show you some of the miniatures. Yeah, the miniatures, the metal cars that they made, and then we're going to talk about some new factions. It's going to be a pretty light video today. One thing I will say, though, about Gaslands is that to really get into it, I think you need a 3D printer, because the 3D printer makes customizing vehicles very easy. There's a lot out there that's free already, and some very good pay stuff that you can get. And the problem is, and I have a ton of models and I have a ton of miniature kits. A lot of people say, well, they slap Warhammer guns on. Well, the Warhammer guns look ridiculously out of scale. And, even 15 millimeters, not right scale. 1/72 scale is close, but you're generally going to get, just a machine gun or two. You can't really strap a big tank cannon on. So it's hard. It's not impossible, but it's harder to find stuff that's just in ready-made model kits. And as you can see with some of these cars, these are that's a 3D printed ram. I 3D printed, hopefully you can see that, gentlemen. There you go. I 3D printed the driver, or not the driver, the crewman, the Molotov cocktail. This one I just slapped the machine gun on him. Oop. But this car already had those big jet engines on the back. So, again, you can find stuff pretty easily in the stores. This one, it has nothing to do with Ukraine. It's actually meant to resemble the one on the cover there, as you can see. Anyway, it has armor panels. I 3D print it. rocket launcher, radar dish, RAM. They replaced one of the headlights with a minigun. This one, it says Quis Uteus in freehand on there. I assume you guys know what that means. So it's got a bomb launcher up top. That's launched manually by a crewman. Some extra armor, windshield, machine gun, wheel armor, and spikes. That's all 3D printed. My dog Pip wants to say hi to you. Hey Pip. He's knocking the camera around. Again, minigun, RAM. Almost none of this stuff comes from model kits that I had on hand. If you have a good line of model kits that works with this without 3D printing, please let me know. This one's not finished painting. This one has a turret flamethrower up top. Fuel tanks on the back. One of my favorites. Didn't finish this one yet either. This is from, it's a Matchbox. There was this line of Matchbox cars from when I was a kid. This is from 1981, which is before I was born, but obviously they were selling them after that. And they already had the armor sections on it. So this armor section here came with the vehicle. Now the other stuff I added to it. The RAM, the overlarge machine guns, the rocket pack. Now you're probably saying to yourself, hey, some of these class of vehicles can't actually have all of these weapons. And you're right, but according to the rules, this also has an oil slick on the back. Or at least it would cost an inordinate amount of cans. Instead of points, you use cans in this game, as in cans of gas. And you are correct, but most, well, I won't say most. The gameplay is actually extraordinarily fun, but a large amount of the fun in this game is in just converting crazy vehicles, and there's no reason why you couldn't have a couple machine guns on it. So yeah, I recommend a 3D printer. This is a basic Hot Wheels Matchbox vehicle. This is a Matchbox Rescue 18 tank. And it looks like it could be an armored personnel carrier, and I just glued that missile on, the missile turret on there. This is a Jeep with lots of extra armor added on, and the granny grating, roll bars, missile turret. It's already had stowage on it. Yes, there's no reason at all why you cannot use like this truck, this Technical from back in the 90s. The Bofors gun on back, perfect already for it. It's already camouflaged. It already has the gun on it. You could just print a little guy to put in there if you want to use this in one game. This was too slow to finish the race, but it actually won because it just outlasted everything else with its high damage points and shot the crap out of the vehicles that were beating the crap out of each other as they were racing around and kept colliding with everything. So one thing I would recommend, though, if you are going to use your basic store-bought cars, is, and this kind of sucks. I'm because I think toys should be played with too, especially by little kids. But it really helps to glue the wheels, because what happens is it's a template-based game, and like exact positioning is important for the movement and everything. But if you bump them, they're going to move. And I mean exact positioning, because sometimes you miss a colliding with like a very dangerous object by a hair. This was originally a Reese's peanut butter cup band from a Hershey set I had. Yeah, so this is from Corgi. So any brand will work. Yeah, they're not all in scale with each other, 1/64 roughly, but you don't worry about things like that. Anyway, so if you glue the wheels, or what you could do is probably blue tack them. So if you wad it some blue tack here, and then just pull it out when you're done, so the kids can play at the table, and then they can take them out back and whatever. So yeah, so I hope you like. Oh yeah, this one is one of the only cars that actually uses model pieces. I had an extra bomb from, I think, a F4U Corsair model kit. And I just thought I had this idea from the beginning since I bought this car. I like these. This is a 85 Honda City Turbo. You probably don't even allow these to be driven in the United States. But I love the idea of this real small, tiny car, and it doesn't have equipment for anything. But what it can do is carry, 500-pound bomb on its reinforced armor-plated roof. And this is used by suicide drivers. This is the glory device in the parlance of the Show Fixed from Star Control. If you guys ever played that game on the Sega Genesis or on the computer, the little raccoons that their ships weren't much, but they would kamikaze themselves. So that's what this does. So when it gets too many hazards, it can blow up on its own. But otherwise, it tries to get within range, and it does a big blast effect on everything around it. So you can go wild, put everyone on. Put electric cannons on it. Put guys hanging out with Molotov cocktails and grenades like these, machine guns, oil slicks, caltrop droppers. There's tons of websites showing these customizations. There's tons of YouTube channels. In fact, Mike Hutchinson himself has a YouTube channel, and for some reason, he doesn't have like 1 million subscribers. But it's rare to see the actual game designers have a really good channel, and they don't just talk about Gaslands. It's all kinds of cool stuff. Definitely worth subscribing to. I'll link it down below. These are 3D printed. I haven't finished painting them, but they're you can get these on Thingiverse for free. And you want to paint things outrageous colors and use a lot of rust and grime, and you can really go to each car is personalized. So this is also the cure to the to the standard uniform army. You're like, God, I can't paint one more olive drab miniature, or I can't paint one more solid colored Space Marine or Napoleonic Rifleman or something like that. Gaslands is an excellent palette cleanser. It really allows your imagination to run wild. I haven't been paying too much attention to the video feed here. I hope that you can see these well, but I will now read to you some alternate setting material I have. Gasland setting is fine, but I thought we needed something more pertinent to the current year. So I'm going to roll some pictures of these cars and actual gameplay we had. And one thing I'll show you, you'll notice about the gameplay is that our games are really they're played to the absurdist heights, and most times half the vehicles are wrecked before the starting gate by intentional movement of the players. That's something my wife likes to do. I think it gets a little old, but she and some of the kids really enjoy that. So anyway, just in case you wonder what you're seeing. Now, for this alternate setting and some factions. The year is 2033. It is the golden age of road piracy. The Western pseudo-democracies have collapsed under the weight of decades of inflationary monetary policy and moral decay. In their mad bid to make everyone live in dirty pod arcologies and drink cockroach milk, kleptocratic globalists and corporate grifters squandered the most fabulous wealth the world had ever seen in a spiral of futile wars and suicidal domestic policies. The middle class, already hollowed out by a half-century of feminism, financial debt, drug addiction, and demographic replacement, was finally destroyed in an orgy of confiscatory taxes and public health lockdowns. The working class became mere serfs, their homes and farms bought out by a handful of stock management companies and billionaires. Soon, shortages of food and fuel killed thousands, with thousands more killed in the ensuing riots and the brutal reprisals of militarized state enforcers. Yet simultaneously, hordes of refugees and social justice activists, released convicts, unemployed academics, communist agitators, pedophiles, and degenerates of every description roamed the urban hellscapes unchecked. As the desperate, disorganized resistance flared into spasmodic violence at home, the blundering of rapacious technocrats ignited a war with their last nuclear-armed rivals. What couldn't go on didn't go on. The Western militaries, burdened with economically irreplaceable and militarily useless weapons platforms, their warfighting dulled by sensitivity training and demoralized by a gender-fluid officer corps that despised the very countries they fought for, quickly collapsed. General war raged at home and abroad, neighbors massacring neighbors, while megalopolises burned and starved. Meanwhile, the elites fled to their secret doomsday shelters in Alaska and New Zealand, leaving their surplus functionaries and enforcers to be eaten, sometimes literally, by those they once lorded over. Immense auto-da-fe were held throughout the Rust Belt, and it is said that the screams of burning film executives can still be heard echoing through the Hollywood Hills. Now, with the cities burnt to cinders and 200 million people under dirt, the crumbling highway infrastructure of North America is the new front line for the corporate baronies, rad-trad crusader duchies, prepper freeholds, bandit kingdoms, and nomadic bands of smelly anarchists that rose from the ashes. Some of these factions are MuscovyX, a strange brew of amoral corporate sharks and transhumanists obsessed with recovering gadgets from the before times. Their vehicle fleets are expensive but easy to maintain electric cars, a strategic advantage as it gives them independence from the oil baronies of the Dakotas and Great Texas. Their raiders are a mix of eco-zealots who believe their technology is the only non-polluting and sustainable basis for civilization, despite the huge lithium strip mines that litter the landscape, and vulgar libertarian bugmen who worship the empire's founder as a Randian hero, though he got rich mostly through government subsidies. Officially, the leader of MuscovyX is the still-living head of Elon Musk, though de facto power rests with Zir Lordship Chelsea Grimes Manning. NeoSomalia, the largest contiguous territory of polycentric libertarian anarchists stretching across the Californian high desert and the wastelands of the former Nevada and Arizona. They are known for having both the most reliable high-speed internet connections and, to everyone's surprise, the best-maintained roads. Though their greatest source of pride is that a full 25% of their under-18 population are indentured sex workers. NeoSomalia has a very well-developed hydroponic system, but almost none of it is used to grow food. Their militia-based military is almost totally unorganized but extremely well-equipped, always recognizable in their Hawaiian shirts. Neo-Somalian road raiders are typically painted in black and gold color schemes, and their freebooter banners are blazoned with the proud motto, "We're a private company," successfully deflecting any philosophical criticism of their piracy. The Portland Soviet. Despite its name, the Soviet is not headquartered in Portland, which was a desolate hellhole even before the bombs dropped, but rather rules over a patchwork of suburban and rural areas outside the metro whose populations have been forced into menial labor in an effort to reform their white nationalist and bourgeois sensibilities. Kept lean and healthy through monthly vaccinations, enforced vegan diets, and regular, though unpredictable, periods of fasting, these proles are responsible for maintaining the Soviets' decrepit and tatterdemalion industry and military. Enlightened management of the proletarians is the responsibility of the party rank and file, a class of penurious and low-status elites that nonetheless have extensive postgraduate education in gender studies and theater arts. Above them reign the true elites of the Politburo, an august group entirely made up of obese black lesbians and indigenous transgenders. Soviet freebooters raid primarily for food to feed themselves, and catamites to feed the Politburo. Circus Maximus, a cargo cult operated by the last of the baby boomers and their third wives. Circus Maximus gather in red, white, and blue big-top tents to reenact the storied moments of American history, assured that the zeal of their civic nationalism will revive the Republic. They follow a cyclical year marked by the transition of the great Oliphant, who, under the extravagant scorn of the all-seeing ass, passes from polite, tepid opposition to submission and collaboration in a year-end feast they call Reaching Across the Aisle. Their holiest day, however, is the first Tuesday in November, during which they meet to cast mock votes and give one another flag stickers. Due to the advanced age and faltering health of their core members, Circus Maximus faces one of the most severe demographic problems of any of the remnant factions. Solving this intractable problem is largely the purview of the Social Security Administration, a roving paramilitary band who presses captives under the age of 50 into corvée labor. On the plus side, the older citizens possess extensive practical and technical knowledge, including outstanding mechanical aptitude, that is hard to come by in the younger generations. As a result, their all-American manufactured vehicle fleets and weaponry are the most reliable on the highways, even if their conscripted millennial and Zoomer crews can't operate them correctly. OnlyFans. More of a category than a cohesive polity, the war bands of lusty e-girls certainly inspire the most devotion of any road pirate faction, and perhaps the lowest barrier to entry. Any middling attractive woman willing to undress on camera and fillet a microphone is likely to attract a small army of thirsty, low-status men eager to shower them with satoshis, a few jerry cans of gas, or their shrew mother's old Honda in return for an on-air moan. The most courageous and least odious simps even have a chance of being recruited into their favored thoughts raiding party. These valiant masturbators put pedal to the metal and brave hails of gunfire for the honor of their waifu, who encourages them with pouts and jiggles from a safe distance. OnlyFans raids are always live streamed, during which the Coomer Corsairs are commanded to perform reckless and random acts to demonstrate their chivalric fealty, suggestions for which their mistress is eager to take from $10 plus super chats. But this creates a tactical vulnerability, considering that their adversaries, especially from NeoSomalia, are frequent audience members, poses no real concern to them. So if you like those factions, and if you have ideas for any more, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think about Gaslands, and tell me your favorite part of the game. And if you can, send some links to your OnlyFans cars. Thanks for watching. This is Attention Span Labs, signing out.